We hire these
yeah.
people and we're like, oh my gosh, you're going to do this. And then we're like, I'll just do it.
Yeah.
Because I
That's
was
true.
so guilty of that. I mean, I was born in September, so I'm a Virgo, which just basically means I'm anally organized for the rest of my life. It's a curse. But I also very particular.
Yeah.
So I was the type where when I had a staff, despite the fact they were phenomenal and I knew they could execute, I just knew I could do it quicker. So I would hold on to things that really I had no business doing.
Yeah.
So part of the delegation, and first and foremost, is realizing that you can't do it by yourself. But second is figuring out how you can trust and empower the people. So if you don't delegate, it's because you don't fully trust that they're going to do it the way you would do it. And welcome to No Limits with Kristen Andre. I am here today with the marvelous Miss Mendoza, my sidekick extraordinaire. And today we are going to be talking about embracing the chaos. And this is the topic we're going to talk about is a keynote I give to a lot of organizations, a lot of women's organizations around the country. And it always gets really great feedback because so many women, and men too, but a lot of women are like, oh my gosh, life is just chaotic.
Yeah.
And so what I want to talk about today is how we can, I used to call it tame the chaos, but I changed the title to embrace the chaos because I just don't know, with everything we have going on, personally, professionally, relationally, all that stuff, I don't know that we're ever going to be able to tame it. I think that we just have stuff. There's a lot of stuff. And we can talk another time about kind of have less stuff. But for now, I want to dive into how we can embrace kind of the chaotic lives we have. So I'm going to start by asking you, how do you feel the chaos? Is it just me? You're already, all right, she's clenching up here like, I
already knew it was coming.
So do you feel chaotic, or is it
yes,
just
I
me?
do.
Okay.
Yes, I do, Kristen.
Okay. Cheers.
Brace on the table.
I know. So what makes you feel that way? Like where is the chaos coming from?
A lot of times for me, it has to do with I'm not the best delegator.
Okay.
Also, sometimes I have a tendency to work up a project in my mind where I'm like, okay, I'm one of those people where if I have a big project, I can't start it if I've only got like 10 minutes before a call.
Okay.
Because I get in the flow and then I get aggravated because I have to stop.
Okay.
So I tend to wait until I can have a big chunk of time, which is
never.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I'm like, oh my God, I have to do this, and this is going to be so hard. And I got to find this information. And it's so much time. I need so much time. And then I finally do it. So you just got it.
Yeah. And it didn't take that
long. And it didn't take that long.
Yeah. So you're working, some of the chaos is self-imposed, I'm hearing in your head. Well, I think for a lot of people, when we think about chaos, there are very few people I come across who just have that calm zen all the time.
Yeah.
Some of them are medicated. Not judging, just saying. I think it helps. However, most people I know are just, they have kids and they have businesses or jobs and careers. They have activities. They have, I joke all the time. People are always like, how do you get everything done? I'm like, well, first of all, I need a PhD in logistics from 4 p.m. or actually about 2:30 p.m. on, just to be able to get those little ones wherever they need to go. So we have a lot coming at us.
Yeah.
And we also have a lot coming at us because of social media and the interwebs. Because when we were young, we didn't have a barrage of information always hitting us all day long.
True.
So like if you had, like you said, I've got to do research, I've got to look up this stuff, used to be you'd go and pull out your Encyclopedia Britannica and, if it wasn't in there, you didn't have information on it. There was no internet. But now we have everything at our fingertips. So we're such a, we feel like we need to consume everything. So I think that's a lot of times what plays into the chaos. So it's really a matter of figuring out what are our priorities, and scheduling those appropriately. And that's where I see the chaos. And we're going to dive in today I have 7 tips I'm going to share about how to kind of break through and learn to embrace the chaos. But that's where I'm seeing the challenge with a lot of people is they're trying to do absolutely everything all the time,
Mm-hmm.
all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the challenge is.
Fancy that.
Yeah. Do you find yourself doing that?
Yep.
Right. I mean, we all do. I mean, because we have 50,000 things on our to-do list.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting is like Isaac and I will get asked, do we have children? And I respond with, yes, I have 2, the business and Sweet Pea, our puppy.
Yep.
And then I think, you know what? I really got to quit saying that because there are people out
like
there.
me who's going to smack you when you talk
and then you're like, I have 3 children and a business and I travel and and I'm like, I really only have like 2 ands.
Yeah. But we all have the ands for sure.
Yeah.
Some have more than others. I seem to be carrying a disproportionate amount, I think, on a lot of days. However, I don't care if you have 1 kid or 12 kids, or, 1 pet or 10 pets, and I've probably friends anywhere in between. We all have stuff. We have a lot of stuff. So the key, and the opportunity we have, it's not to prioritize our schedule, which is where I feel like so many strategists and coaches and people in my field get it wrong, is they're trying to teach us how to prioritize our schedule. Mm-hmm. I like to flip it. We need to schedule our priorities.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So instead of prioritizing the schedule, we need to figure out what are our priorities and schedule those accordingly.
And everything else fits in around it.
Everything fits in around it. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. So that's where we need to really evaluate kind of what's on there. It is. It depends. Now, there's certain things have to fit. You have to feed your children.
Sure. Yeah, right.
They will tell you when you don't.
Yeah.
You have to respond to client deadlines. You have to meet expectations. So, but they're priorities. The priorities. Yeah. So part of it is trying to figure out first and foremost what your priorities are. So I have clients I work with who the business is their biggest priority, and their A clients or what have you. Those chunks go in the calendar first. I have some clients who they run very successful businesses but will not miss anything related to their kids. Those go in there first. So it's a matter of first and foremost figuring out what your priorities are so you can work around them accordingly.
Okay.
And then we'll get to saying no. We're going to talk about that a little bit because a lot of times the reason we're so chaotic is because we said yes to a heck of a lot of people and a heck of a lot of things that we shouldn't have. And then we're stuck with all this stuff.
Yeah.
And we try to handle it all ourselves, which we'll get into Miss Mendoza with the lack of delegation.
Okay.
But yeah. So, I mean, I feel like we all have this. So for me, if we're talking about our tips, my first tip that I always tell everybody, work in minutes, not in hours.
Okay.
And that sounds simple, but let me ask you a question. And for those of you guys listening that work, especially in a corporate environment, I see this in a corporate environment. When you schedule a meeting and somebody throws a meeting on your calendar, how long are they putting on your calendar?
Typically at least 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
How long does the actual content of the meeting typically take?
15.
Correct. So or any number, whatever it is.
Yes.
So I saw this coffee mug one time online and I thought it was fantastic. It said, I survived another meeting that could have been an email.
Yeah.
So this is what, when I say my first tip is work in minutes, not in hours, is because so much of our schedule is consumed with crap that doesn't need to be on there. Like if we need to go over something, I probably don't need an hour with my staff to go over all the things. I may only need 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But we're like, oh, I've got it scheduled. Might as well take the hour. So you come in and you chit chat and you see what was going on and you ask how the weekend was. And then you get to some stuff. And then you talk about, well, where are we going to for lunch? What are we going to do? It's the water cooler conversation, but put into a meeting. So the first tip is always work in minutes. If it takes 15 minutes, block 15 minutes. Don't take up so much time on your calendar. And if you can compress it. There's no rule saying a meeting has to be an hour.
Okay. Question.
Yes, that's fine. Throw them at me.
What do we do in that little 10-minute block like I was talking about? Like, okay, I finished this project, but I've got a call that starts in 10 minutes.
Yep.
What's a good thing to... Yeah, we get into that. Okay,
that's where we're going next.
So concerned about that 10 minutes.
So this is where we're going next because if you can get so the big meetings are on your calendar.
Yes.
And I use a laptop calendar. So I've got, I've got the chunks and mine are color coded, but you see your meetings on the calendar. And if you can follow that first step and get the meetings to the time it actually takes, and squinch them down. Instead of an hour, it's going to be 30 minutes. Instead of 30 minutes, it's going to be 15. You end up with what I call the white space on your calendar. So if I'm looking at my computer screen, my calendar's pulled up, I have white space, meaning I have gaps between my meetings.
Your calendar is amazing. By the way.
I know it's color coded.
really
It's a
is.
mess. We should turn it around and show. But you have gaps. Everybody has white space on their calendar. Nobody is scheduled. And I promise you, if you're like, oh no, I'm scheduled from sun up to sundown, if you bring your calendar to me, I will find you time, because everybody has time. This I don't have time is a BS excuse that we all use, right? Let's admit that. I want everybody to say it to yourselves. I don't have time is a BS excuse. It is, because we all have white space on our calendar.
Yeah.
So once you've compressed the meeting to minutes, not hours, the second tip is to make use of the white space on your calendar. And what I mean by that is, to your point, if I have 10 minutes, 10 minutes is, if that's all the white space I have between meetings, that is not enough time to start a project.
Okay.
It's enough time to it's enough time to send an email.
Okay.
It's enough time to return a phone call. But you need to make use of the white space on your calendar.
Okay.
And in order to do that, you've got to know where your white space is.
Question.
Yes. Answer. Okay.
If you do a call, because I totally do this.
Yep.
Is it appropriate to be like, I'm calling you back. I've got 10 minutes because I've got another call coming up at 1 and it's 12:50.
Yep.
Let's see what we can get covered and then I'll follow up.
I'm going to give you a two-part answer.
Okay.
Yes, it's absolutely appropriate. If I know that call can't be done in 10 minutes, I'm not going to do that.
Don't try it.
I may shoot a text and say, hey, it's probably going to take about 20 minutes for us to chat. I can call you at 4:30. Okay. Like I had somebody text me earlier. It's like, can you talk today? And I'm looking at the white space on my calendar going, I can talk at 4:30, because I know that's the only time I'm going to have to actually have a discussion.
Okay.
So if you know, hey, I'm going to call you back. And I have some clients who are chit-chatters. I know who they are. I'm a chit-chatter too. But it is absolutely, to your first question, it's 100% appropriate to call them back and say, hey, I wanted to call you back. I've only got 10 minutes. I got a call coming in at 1. Here's what we got. And just go right into it.
Okay.
But when you do that, always preface that at the beginning of the call. What you don't want to do is get to 1 o'clock and be mid-conversation
and have to cut them
and
off.
say, oh, you know what? I've got a call coming. Preface it at the beginning. I wanted to call you back. I've got 10 minutes and then I've got another call. And people are appreciative of that.
Okay.
And honestly, it makes you focus more.
Yeah.
You know, like my coaching calls with clients, they are scheduled for an hour, but I'm very strict on time. I call them exactly at the start time. We end at the end time. So I know how much time I have. Okay. And occasionally if I wrap up a call early and I've got 5 minutes, I may make a call and say, hey, I got 5 minutes. But no, absolutely okay to do that. So maximizing the white space is going to be, this is where I see the biggest opportunity with people is they get done with a meeting or they get done with their block of time. I'm a big time blocking person. Like I even have writing time block. So if I need to spend 2 hours working on a blog post or my book, I will put writing in my calendar, and that's what I do during that time. So I play with the white space. I make the most use of it. And the way I figure out how to do that is my third tip. And I use this, I call it posting and planning. Okay. It's really big in the financial industry, but at the end of every day, you can do it at the end of the day or the morning of the next. At the end of every day, I do what I call post and plan. And what that means is I go through my day, I post the results, meaning like, okay, I got this new client, I sent a proposal to this person, I've got these 5 to-dos that came out of my client calls and I add them to my to-do list. So I kind of review my day. And then the plan part of posting and planning is I look at the next day and I check out my white space. So this evening, I will look at tomorrow's calendar. I will figure out how much white space I have, and I will go ahead and fill it. Meaning, like, if I know I have 10 minutes, I don't have time to start that project, but I'm going to take my to-dos and I'm going to slot them. I literally slide them in my calendar and say, I need to call this person. I need to send this email. I need to do this. So before I get to tomorrow, I already know what I'm doing during my downtime. And it sounds anal. I know it sounds anal because when I tell people that, they're like, oh my God, that's weird. But what it saves me from is tomorrow when I get out of my meeting and everybody else going, oh my God, I'm going to go get lunch, or let me think about this, or what do I have to do? Or they sit down their computer and go, oh, I got an hour. What should I do? I've already thought through that. So I can immediately leave the meeting and get to work. So it just helps from an efficiency standpoint.
Question.
Question. Answer. Okay.
Your writing time. So you've got, how long do you block for that?
It depends on the day. Depends on how much white space I have.
Okay. So would you like maybe block an hour on some
it's
days?
Usually 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
2 hours you've blocked for writing time.
Yep.
I call and say, Kristen, need to talk to you today.
Yep.
And that writing time is the only other non-client dedicated space you have. Do you give up part of that writing time, or do you say, I can talk to you for 5 minutes? What do you do in that situation?
You got a couple choices.
Okay.
So here's the thing. First and foremost, look to make sure if that's actually the only time that you have.
Okay.
Because my guess is it's not.
Okay.
It's just, and here's why I say that.
Okay.
Because writing time is an easily movable time, right? So you will find time, because if I came to you and said, oh my God, The Rock is going to be at Avalon and we can go meet him at 2:00, you can move that writing time.
We've been talking about The Rock
a lot lately. But it's priorities.
Yeah.
It's priorities. So if my priority is writing, you need to treat everything on your calendar like an appointment. And I have a writing coach that I work with, and sometimes I mean, my calendar will look beautiful. Are there some days where I let things creep into my writing time? For sure. And my writing time is like, our coach is like, you need to treat this like an appointment, like it's a client appointment.
Right.
So it's about priorities. Yeah. So if the client that's calling me is my top client and they have texted me, absolutely, I'm going to take that phone call, because that may be a higher priority. So it goes back to kind of knowing where your priorities are and scheduling them. But I also wouldn't do it in the middle of it. I'd bookend it. I'd either say, you know what, I've got a chunk of time from 5 to 5:20. I can give you a call then. I'll have 20 minutes, but I'm very definite in it. Okay. But if that's the priority, you take the call.
Okay.
But you also, here's what I've found with doing this and posting and planning. I like making the use of the white space, because otherwise I'm never going to do those to-dos. I mean, most of us have to-dos. I had a guy in my old firm. He was our director of training. He had the most beautiful task and to-do list, and he would write them. And then he'd get to the end of the week, and he would take the task and to-dos, which he had not done, which were all of them, because all he did all week was write his to-do list, and he would rewrite the to-do list for the next. So basically all he actually accomplished was rewriting his to-do list. Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of us do that. So what the posting and planning does, it lets us figure out, all right, which one of these friggin' things am I actually going to check off my list? Because otherwise they just stay on there. And my rule of thumb with myself and with clients, if something has been on your to-do list, not a client stuff, but if something's been on your to-do list for a month and you haven't done it, it's not important. Take it off. And I'll give you an example. There was somebody had told me, like, oh, you should try to refinance I don't know, it was like a business loan, or this was years ago, a business loan or a car loan or something. I literally had refinance car loan on my to-do list for like a month. And after the month, I'm like, I'm never going to call and do that to save my $12. It just wasn't a priority. So I took it off. So it's figuring out like how we can really attack our week and our day and be as productive as possible. And I will assure you, even the busiest person, they have time. So what happens is we tend to slot the non-important things into,
because they're the easiest to
do. So we tend to slot those into the things we're avoiding.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Now, this is not a perfect science. Are there days where I have to-do list on my calendar that I did not get to? Yep. Last night was one of them. There were some emails I needed to send last night. I got home later than I had anticipated getting home, so they got moved to my list for today. It's not an exact science, but the thing is, I know exactly which emails they are, and they're on my list for today, and I'll get them today. So it's just a matter of being organized with it and making the best effort to plan your day instead of your day planning you. Run your day instead of your day running you.
It's good.
Yeah. All right, ready for the next tip?
I am. No further questions.
No further questions, Your Honor. Okay. So the next tip, and this is, I'm pretty good with this one. I've never really had this as a challenge for myself, but I have a lot of clients that have, is keep everything in one place. And here's what I mean by this. For those of you guys listening who have 97,000 Post-it notes all over your desk, your laptop, your wall, everything. And I don't mean like vision board posting notes. I mean like actual to-dos. Keep it in one place. Because I'll have, I've had clients that I work with. I had one guy that I was working with, an advisor, had a great practice. But every time we sat down to meet to talk strategy, he had 5 different lists that he was looking from. He had like a list of these phone calls he had to make, and he had a list of these clients. And it was all over. It took him 20 minutes to even pull together all of his stuff for us to even walk through strategies. So if you can keep everything in one place, You can do it. Like I have a journal that I use that I keep. I mean, everything's in there. My business plan is in there. My hot list of prospects is in there. It's got a section at the back where I'm writing any ideas or, whether it be for the show or books or blogs or anything like that. I also keep my gratitude stuff in there. The only thing I don't keep in there is my calendar because it's paper, but everything's in one place. So if you asked me anything, I could go to this one place and get it. So whatever it is just try to be organized enough to not have things scattered.
Okay.
I mean, the fact that Post-it notes are still such a hot seller, I mean, it solidifies that point. We're just kind of sticking things everywhere.
Yeah.
I'll use Post-it notes to like create vision boards or stuff for writing or things like that, storyboards. But for to-dos, keep it all in one place.
Okay.
That's a pretty easy one.
Yeah, that one's good.
That one's easy.
I'm set on that one.
You're set on that one. Most people, that's the easier one, I think. All right. So the next one, Miss Mendoza.
Okay.
All right. Deep breath in, deep breath exhale. And this is, I mean, so many people are guilty of this, is realize that you can't do it alone. Okay. Realize you can't do it alone.
Okay. Sorry, I just saw Rose and Island come in my head. No, it can't be done.
Gosh, got to quit with the gold girl. All right. So when we think about this, because all of us we're Wonder Woman, we are Superman, we are trying to get everything done. And we don't want to be seen as weak, or we don't want to be seen as, I can't handle it. I can't handle my job. I can't handle the mom thing. I can't handle running my business. Like we feel the need to take it all on ourselves.
Yeah.
That is the most
had that thought this morning.
Stupidest thing I've ever heard, because no one's ever done it by themselves.
Yeah.
And if they ever did, it wasn't during the age of social media where we've got all this stuff going on that we have to do.
Yeah.
So the first thing I always tell people is figure out, there's two things. One, what needs to come off your plate. And it could be because you just hate it, and a lot of times this could be household stuff. This could be, I need to hire a housekeeper. I need to hire a laundry service. It could be anything like that. I gave this talk the other day, and one of the ladies that was there sent me a message on Facebook later, and she said, I went home and told my husband that we're hiring a laundry service. She said, that has been the one thing that's stressing me out and keeping me from work. She happens to work from home. She said, that's the one thing that keeps me from executing on my business plan. And so she had heard this talk, and that was her thing. So I always ask people, what is it you hate doing? What is it you need to not do? Either I don't like it, it drains me, or it could also be, I don't have the skill set for it. Like this is a prime example. I can come in here and talk. I couldn't produce a podcast. I couldn't get it uploaded. I mean, I don't even know what buttons you guys push to get it uploaded on the stuff, the thing.
The interwebs.
The interwebs. It just shows up. But you have to, you need to understand whose help you need. Like I get the fact that I can write a book. I can't edit it. I'm terrible at spelling and punctuation. Apparently I'm awful at punctuation. Every time I get notes back from my editor, it's like, apparently I missed all of elementary school because I can't punctuate anything. But realize whose help you need. Like know your strengths, know what you enjoy, and then figure out what help you need to get in there. So a lot of times this is outsourcing. So especially on the home front, if you need to hire a housekeeper or laundry service, babysitters, car, and it doesn't even have, those all cost money, but it could be a matter of, hey, I've got a busy afternoon and I really need to do some writing. Would you mind if my daughter came over to play at your house for 2 hours? Or could you carpool and you drive on Tuesdays and I'll drive on Thursdays, so I've at least got one day where I'm not having to shuttle kids around. So whatever it is figure out whose help you need to do that. So that's the personal side. But the same thing at business is there's probably things that you're holding on to because, Whitney, you are smarter. You can do it better. You can get it done faster. And it's going to annoy you to have to describe to somebody how you want it done. Right? So we hold on to stuff. But so if we're going to hold on to everything, why hire a team? Yeah. So we hire these people and we're like, oh my gosh, you're going to do this. And then we're like, I'll just do it. Yeah. Because I was so guilty of that. I mean, I was born in September, so I'm a Virgo, which just basically means I'm anally organized for the rest of my life. It's a curse. But I also very particular. Yeah. So I was the type where when I had a staff, despite the fact they were phenomenal and I knew they could execute, I just knew I could do it quicker. So I would hold on to things that really I had no business doing.
Yeah.
So part of the delegation, and first and foremost, is realizing that you can't do it by yourself. But second is figuring out how you can trust and empower the people. So if you don't delegate, it's because you don't fully trust that they're going to do it the way you would do it. You're nodding. Is that what you're thinking?
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to also, and people listening, when you hear this, it doesn't have to be done the way you would do it. It has to be done. So just because somebody's going to take longer or take a different approach, if the end result is still something good and still something professionally I'd be proud to put in front of a client, the work is getting done, the client is happy, just because they're taking a different route to get there, or they're taking a smidge short, more time than I would, it doesn't mean it's bad. It needs to come off your plate.
Yeah.
So this is where getting really clear in roles will help.
Yeah. Well, oftentimes I have discovered that people can do things better than I can.
As shocking as that may be, I discovered that too. I was floored. But it's true because, I mean, that's really the thing. But part of delegating, and this leads into our next tip, which is one of my favorite things to talk about, is finding your people.
Yes.
And so the next tip with finding your people, it's you've got to know personally and professionally who you trust, who aligns himself with you, who gets you.
Yeah.
Because then it becomes a heck of a lot easier. If I know you kind of think like me and we kind of have the same values and the same mantra when it comes to taking care of our clients, I'm going to be way more apt to delegate things to you. So part of it is realizing that other people can get it done. And if you find the right people, that helps. Same thing personally. If you've got your little tribe of people, they will bend over backwards to help you. I mean, I know if I called any of my friends and said, hey, I had this happen, or could you, stop by and pick up, something for me, they would do it in a heartbeat. So part of the being able to not realize you can't do it by yourself is also finding the people that you want to surround yourselves with.
Yeah.
And if you don't have those people, find them. If you have people that are working for you that are not your people, fire them. And I said this to the group the other day when I was giving this talk. One of the ladies in the audience who worked for a pretty large corporation, her question was, in working for a big company, if they don't let me, she was talking about kind of the work-life balance thing and how can I execute and how can I do this? And, I told her, I said, if your work does not align with your priorities, if your kid, like if you need to take off and they're giving you a hard time because you have a doctor's visit or what have you, it may not be the place for you. I'm sure her bosses weren't excited to hear that, but you've got to find your people. You got to find your place. And if it's not in alignment with your priorities, find somebody different.
Yeah.
Find somebody different. So that seems like an easier one to me. Now here's one I think that gets to be there's two more I want to go through. One is take time to relax and recharge. And this is going to be critical to us for really just executing, because I feel like we go all the time. And part of embracing the chaos is for type A people. So those of you that are type A listening, which I'm totally amongst you, we get like a little bit of a thrill on go all the time. Like I like to go. I would not know what to do if I weren't busy, if I didn't have a lot of stuff. Right, wrong, or indifferent. That's just how I'm wired. At the same time, all of us need to take time to relax and recharge. And if we're not doing that, we're going to hit a wall. We're going to hit it hard. So typically, if you aren't taking time to relax and recharge, your body is going to do it for you. You're going to get sick. You're going to get in a car wreck. I mean, it sounds silly, but I have a friend who has had, I can't remember. She was telling me the other day, she always gets in car wrecks when she's overly stressed because she doesn't pay attention. I'm like, I can't imagine what your insurance is, but she doesn't pay attention. So it's because she's not taking time to decompress.
Relax,
yeah. So this is your plan, your vacation, even if it's a short one day away by yourself, something like that to allow you to recharge. Make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. You're like, Whitney's going, I'm in trouble. All right. And here's the last one I'll say. And it's a tip, not really a tip, but there's not a right or wrong time to work. There's not a right or wrong way to do it. Everybody's different. Yeah. And I feel like, and I'm a strategist and a performance coach, and I'm always helping people trying to figure it out. But what's interesting is, and people have asked me, because I've never written a book on productivity. I've never done anything like that, because every single person I work with is different.
Mm-hmm.
And so what for those of you guys listening, what I would say is there's no right or wrong way. You've got to find what works for you. So, as long as you're maximizing your taking some downtime, maximizing your white space, finding your people, it's going to look different for everybody else.
Okay.
So instead of trying to do it the way other people are doing it, do it the way that works for you. Okay. So what are you thinking? What's in your head? Like, I know I dumped a lot of tips on you, but it's you're not going to be able to do all these tips. So figure out, as you're listening to this podcast, figure out which one of them are like, oh my God, I need to do that. Pick one, pick two tops, and start there. Even if you're only starting with one.
Yeah.
So what would the one be for you?
I like what you said about filling in the white space and time blocking. Being the intentionality behind that is the key part.
For sure.
Yeah. Because again, instead, I'm very guilty of, okay, I've got 10 minutes and I'll do that scenario that you described where I'm like, well, what am I going to work on? Because I have this whole list of things and this doesn't fit and that doesn't fit. By the time I've done all that, my 10 minutes are up. And yeah. So that.
Do it the night before. Or the morning of. Like if you're I'm a night person. So I do mine the night before. I literally, after the kids are in bed and I kind of have, I will pour a glass of wine. I'll be looking at my calendar. That's when I do mine. I have some clients who are super early risers. They're like 4:30, 5 a.m. Right? I don't know what they're doing at 4:30 or 5 a.m. But that's when they do it for them because it works for them. But either way, intentionality around pre-thinking it. Pre-thinking it. I like that one. All right, so I'm going to check up with you on that one. That's one of my favorite ones.
Okay, good.
Awesome.
No, that's awesome. That's good. That's good. Yeah. You should.
I think with me, I think I'm pretty good on that one. Mine is realizing you can't do it alone. Because I think like a lot of people, I'm going to try it and fail at it and stress myself out over it before I ask for help.
Yeah.
And so for me, the opportunity is, and I'm getting better at this, but definitely the opportunity is to ask for help before I get where I'm feeling just buried. Because this is definitely a buried week for me. I've had a lot of travel and I'm just like, I probably could have outsourced and asked for some help sooner. So now, you get to that point, you're like, oh, I should have, just making that a habit. I think is kind of where I need to focus mine. So,
yeah.
All right. So we're going to check. So, I will, if you guys are listening, see which one of these resonates with you guys and give it a try. I've got these tips and what I'll do is I'll put either a PDF in there. I'll give you a number to text and we'll send you a PDF of kind of the summary for these things. But these are productivity tips and tricks and strategies that will help you just get more efficient. And honestly, what we really want to do besides the efficiency is just embrace the chaos so you're not stressing out nearly as much. So until next week, thank you, Miss Mendoza. And until next week, we will keep pushing past those limits.